Lime Rock last week provided some of the greatest racing we have ever seen here. Another accident just before the line provided yet another heart in the mouth affair, and through quick thinking, David Gasper's rolled along the line backwards. But it wasn't P1, it was still ahead of the championship rival that he has, Foreign's Arabian. And now all comes down to this. Oran Park will play host to a nail-biting finale of the Formula V Weekend Warriors, and I guarantee you it'll be absolutely sensational. Stick the Global SimRacing Channel on your TVs and PCs, grab a drink and sit back with us as we take you through the final round here at Oran Park. Hi, I'm Robert O'Brien, and with me today in the booth is Michael Johnson. Behind the scenes is our director Joe Peake, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Oran Park as a finale will provide close, fast-paced action. While the first sector is quite technical and cramped, the final sector is quite sweeping, broken by a final hairpin. Let's go to our track guide to learn more.
Welcome to Oran Park Raceway. Though the track has been torn down and no longer exists in the real world, it was once located north of the town of Narellan, New South Wales. Thankfully, with iRacing's laser scan, it's saved for sim racing perpetuity, complete with a number of incredibly unique features. The most visibly notable of these is the fact that it was one of the few figure-8 road courses in the world. In fact, 5 of the 6 available layouts feature this crossover bridge, but most of them are decidedly short, with the longest one being a mere 1.6 miles, and the smallest barely over half a mile. You would think that this would relegate the track to simply club racing with smaller, lesser-powered vehicles. But the V8 supercars and open-wheelers with considerable grunt both competed at this place regularly. It must have been like wrangling a bull in a china shop considering the drastic elevation changes and the wickedly technical layout. Turns 1 and 2 make for a fearsome combination in which drivers are forced to brake and turn from incredibly high speeds into a tight left-hander. And the final chicane features a completely blind rise in the middle of it, making car placement almost a guessing game. The last corner also places a concrete wall all around the outside, giving it a street circuit-like feeling. The number of turns packed into such a small space makes passing difficult for just about any level of vehicle. However, mistakes can be easy to make, and most drivers will be ready to pounce should any opportunity present itself. It may have gone the way of the dodo, but rather than entering some sort of racing afterlife, fans and drivers alike can continue to enjoy this beautiful Australian track here in the virtual world.
Now, Michael, I guarantee you it's going to be a bit difficult around here for these guys, but why don't we talk through the actual layout itself?
Sure. There's a really tricky bit to this track, and I find it personally to be turn 1, which is really more of a dogleg, but you have to be right on the edge of control of the car. You need to have that fine touch and that feel for where the car is balancing to be able to get into the brakes effectively for what is effectively turn 2, that really short, tight little bit that goes into this more technical section.
Exactly. Now, it is closed, unfortunately, but in our hearts of hearts, it's still existing. 1.62 miles, 2.6 kilometers, 12 turns with, it's a quite technical section leading to a very sweeping section, as I outlined before, but what will the drivers be expecting in terms of setups? Will they go for a balanced setup?
I think you're going to look mostly at a balance of the brakes, where they're going to throw that majority of the braking force. By default, when you pick up this car out of iRacing, it is sitting at about 62%, which is quite far forward, and it leaves the back end really lively. Now, some people like that back end to be super lively, and it helps them rotate the car to come around a corner, but it can also work to your detriment when you're really trying to get around a corner and maybe something happens in front of you. It could make your life quite exciting at that point.
Exactly. And now a word from our sponsor, Ringfree, a unified VoIP for your essential business. Find out more at ringfree.com. Choose connection. And now we're connected to the road. It's more likely we're going to be connected with these drivers than ever before, because the Series 1 or the S1 standings are quite tricky to read, but let me explain this to you as we go along. Foreign's Arabian heads up David Gasper's. Foreign's Arabian with 783 points to David Gasper's minus 142. Myro Haraski sitting in third. Great results from him have sealed his third place. Greg Stefani following along behind. And Matt Orr, who has not raced in quite a few races, but he still holds fifth from the great results that he had. In the amateurs, or the S2s, Thomas Rinders has all but secured his top place. Johan Putenga could throw some upsets and secure his second place if he does well today, but he does need a good result to seal the deal. Ian Gibson, just 33 points behind him. So if the drop weeks are to his liking, he could still upset the apple cart today. Flavio Andolo, minus 209 points behind Thomas Renders, and Simon Mayer can still very, very quickly jump up into fourth if he can. Masters, Tom Gradwell, 523 points. Kenneth Batley, just a pip behind, with Lurie Coppage in the mix for third. A big jump to Rob Hop as we hop down into fourth place with minus 239 points to Tom Gradwell. And Mike Taylor can still get into fourth if he has a great result today and is at least 2 positions ahead of Rob Hop. In the race itself, it is the final round of the Formula V Weekend Warriors. 40-minute race with limited fuel, so it'll be a one-stop shop. Now, we did see at the Charlotte Legends RC, it somehow transpired that Ian Gibson was able to go all the way without taking a fuel stop, but I don't think it'll happen today. I think it will be one-stop shop for the majority of these guys. Now, none of them take tires. The tires will last for the entirety of the race. Is fuel going to affect the drivers here at all, Michael?
I think there's going to be a desire to try to make it zero stop, but honestly, when they're limited to where they are, I think it's about 2.9 gallons. I don't think they're going to be able to make it the entire 40 minutes on that. I suppose they could be super light and try to lift and coast, everywhere, but I just don't think that's going to work for them. They're going to need to make that stop. Now, when they choose to make that stop, I think is going to be one of the deciding factors here, because the strategy of when you make your fuel stop and how much fuel you take on and what kind of traffic you are getting out of as well as back into really does catapult you or drag you down depending on just how well you timed it.
Yeah, indeed. It is going to be quite difficult to actually see sort of the nuts and bolts of the race. Sort of what I mean by that is how it'll shape up within the first 5 minutes, because as history has shown, we've been wrong so many times. But it is going to be, once again, it'll be a fuel stop and then try and get out as far ahead as possible, or just try and take as little fuel as possible. And I did actually see that I think Gasper is indeed in the session. Sorry, I didn't see his name there, but it's just him and Forens. What will be going through Gasper's mind? He does need to win and to win well here today.
I think it's going to be a challenge for Gaspers right now. The best time I'm seeing him doing now, they've only done 3-4 laps, and he might just be getting warmed up, but he's still a little over a second and a half behind Arabian right now. That doesn't mean that's where it's going to end up, because if he's like me, a good old time endurance driver, you really don't get going until you're 10, 15, 20 laps into something. So that could be what's going on here. But there's also to consider with these pit stops. This is a really tricky pit entry, and there's no clue to a following driver that someone is going into the pits or gonna continue. When you come around that final sweeper, you're looking for that one logo over on the right side. I think it's Live On, and when you see that, that's where you're going. And the next thing you know, it's surprising they're in the pits.
Sure thing. Now, Foreign's Arabian and David Gaspers occupy the first row, with Meyer Haraski and Thomas Renders occupying row 2. In 5th position is Kenneth Batley, the lead of the Masters, being followed by Ian Gibson in 6th position. In 7th is Leroy Coppage, Tom Gradwell in 8th, Mark Geehan in 9th, and in 10th is Johan Batenga. In 11th is going to be Kurt Nunez. In 12th, Brian Short. Mikhail Vichunik in 13th position. 14th is going to be Jesus Rodriguez. In 15th is Jared Colo. 16th is Christopher Frasetti. And 17th rounding out is Joe Marant.
We've got the pace car rolling now. Everybody's rolling up behind them for our out lap. Let's see how everybody kind of tries to position themselves here.
And it is going to be interesting to see as they let the pace car go on ahead. They are going to be coming around for the green flag. As you can see there, that pit stop is very, very tight. It's a very tight entry, and they are already going racing. Green flag here at Oran Park, and Florence Arabian making no bones about it. He's going straight ahead into first position, followed by David Gaspers, Myra Haraski in third, Kenneth Batley fighting with Ian Gibson in 5th and 6th, Thomas Rinders carving it 4th position for himself. Movement all around, but a technical section coming up now.
It's going to get pretty exciting through here. I think we're going to see maybe an attempt at a dive bomb or two. I hope they're going to behave, but I can already see farther back in the field. There's a little smoke coming off some tires. People going a little bit heavy on those brakes.
Florence Arabian knows that he must keep David Gaspers behind him at all costs. If we take into account drop weeks, it is very, very close at the top there. Florence Arabian now leading David Gaspers around. The gap behind him is already forming to about 0.6 of a second. So they've made no bones about getting away as fast as possible.
And we've got one around already.
That is Coppage gone around. Yes, indeed, Coppage gone around. Camera's still focused on this, though. Oh, there he is coming out. Van Coppage. Just keeping it out of the wall. He actually did survive the contact with the wall. I think it was just a little bump, but he just kept it in tune. Kept it going.
He looks like he's still going to be okay. As long as he can get back into a little bit of draft, hopefully help close up this gap here for him a little bit.
And we were talking about this before the broadcast started, but David Gaspers has actually got good slipstream. He's actually lifted quite heavily and to not overtake Florence Arabian. So he's playing the game that I thought he might have. Fuel save as much as possible. And you're not going to save a lot of fuel on these things, but comparatively speaking, as long as you fuel save and the guy ahead of you has to keep going on the acceleration pedal, it'll be fine. In 3rd and 4th, Thomas Renders and Myra Haraski, they are going at it as well. It is pro versus amateur. As Mikhail Vichunik, he's also gone around, so drivers getting caught out. You can just see the remnants there as Leroy Coppage comes past. Unfortunately, another one caught out by the technical section. You just see here now what happened to him. Unfortunately, just in the middle of traffic, trying to get a nice run out. And very close indeed. Coming up to turn 4, and the back end just gives way, just slides out.
This early in the race, I don't think the tires quite have the grip that they're going to need to pull a maneuver like that. I think the confidence of running through practice and qualifying, he felt like he could make it, but when you're just getting back into the race, it's kind of tough.
And David Gaspers has actually thrown out the rule book that I thought he was going to be following and said, "Nope, Robert, you're wrong again." As is usual. He throws out the rule book and tells me, "Nope, we're not following these today." He overtakes Florence Arabian on the straights and is now marching towards trying to open up a gap for himself. Already half a second going through 3 and 4 on towards the bridge. And Keehan, unfortunately, has got himself into a bit of a tizzy, as well as Ian Gibson. Now, unfortunately, this was contact. That is a car going very wide coming into turn 2. It's a very tight left-hander coming underneath the bridge. And it's just a group coming together, really. Just very unfortunate. The two drivers wanted to occupy the same line, which was the middle of the track, and they came together.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. It's difficult to see sometimes, depending on how your monitors are set up or if you have your VR on. You just don't always know, and you can't always hear that other car there. So I understand how these types of things can happen. It's really unfortunate when it does.
Yeah, exactly. And, it can lead to, all sorts of issues. Just trying to, especially if you can only hear your own engine as well, Mike. It can be quite difficult. What would be sort of the ABCs of trying to mitigate against something like that, in your view?
Well, one of the things I do is I play with the volume levels. I actually turn my engine down and then the sounds around me up, because I do want to hear those other cars. I know in real life I can hear them, and when I come to iRacing, I want to kind of use these types of things to my advantage. So I can turn up the tires. I can hear the tires squealing more. I can hear less engine because I don't need to. I've got lights flashing at me telling me when I'm at red line. So it is nice to be able to do things like that. And sometimes people take those advantages, and sometimes they don't even realize they have them.
If only real life had those, those switches.
I've been in a few cars, 911, that I'd love to turn that motor down, the motor sound down just a little bit, but keep all the power there.
Well, Porsche, implemented it for the next GT3, and we just see now Thomas Rinders pipping the post into turn 1, sweeping into 2.
This is a nice move. He played that perfect timing coming out of that final corner, slotted himself up into that slipstream and made the most of it. I found it about 0.3 off. You could probably make that on the shorter version of this course, where you have a turnover before you get into that dog leg. You really needed 0.2 to get in there. But I love the use of these slipstreams these guys are doing. They're really making the most of it, and that's a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, and it actually follows quite a lot of what we see in the other tracks in the previous series. Slipstream is the big thing. To overtake it, really, if you want to overtake somebody that's at the same pace as you, it really comes down to slipstream. Now, Kurt Nunes and Johan Batenga battling it out for position. Johan Batenga needs to use the slipstream, the ways of the slipstream.
He's got really good positioning there. You'll see a lot of people who haven't driven this track a lot, right where they were, getting way over to the left side. No need to get over there. It sets yourself up much better to go over that rise, come down, hit the brakes right at the bottom of that dip, and then come off of it and back into the throttle. Now look at this slipstream. See how much he's closing up, and he comes out to the left side. Looks like he's going to make this pass. Let's see if he holds on to it. Coming in, looks nice. There he goes. See, just like we were talking, use that slipstream to your advantage, and get close enough without being too close to follow him down that straightaway. I think he did a brilliant job right there.
Jared Colo wearing the patent pending Formula V BWT livery. I know what team he's supporting this weekend, but you'll have to focus on getting. Oh crikey! No!
Let's hope the BWT doesn't do that in the Formula One race.
Exactly. But he did have a very bad mistake, and another mistake in the technical sections as well. Is this becoming a bit of a formula? At least one driver will have a bit of an issue getting through there.
I find one mistake lends to the next. There's a thing we do in instruction where we look for things to happen in threes, and you have to catch it before the third one. So if somebody misses a corner, misses an apex, misses their throttle point, the very next corner they come up to, as long as it's part of the same sequence, is probably also going to be off, and it's going to throw it off far enough for that the third one is going to be game over for you. So you really have to catch those quickly, and if you don't notice you've missed that apex, you could find yourself in trouble without even realizing it was about to happen.
Yeah, and I just saw there that actually, as you were discussing sort of missed apexes, I did notice that Gasper is actually not using all of the apexes advantage. He's actually driving quite far to the left of the actual race course itself, and he's actually trying to defend as best he can from Florence Raven, who we're riding on with now. It is going to be difficult.
Looks like Florence, now he's actually getting a little bit of a gap on him, but I think he was putting some pressure on him. And this is one of the things I teach is the 3 Ps. The third P is pester the you-know-what out of the guy in front of you. And I think that's exactly what's going on here. He's trying to get in one mirror and in the other mirror, and it's really getting in his head. So Arabian is doing a nice job of making it making that third P work to his advantage.
Yeah, he needs to pester, and pester. And I know that's not what the 3P stand for, but pester, pester, pester as he comes on onto the left-hand side. Nice clean move there. David Gasper is filing in behind the car number 6, making sure that no time is lost from trying to defend a move that's already been made, and making himself available to make the move next available, as we also look at Johan Patenga trying to defend himself from Kurt Nunes. Now, Mike, we did talk about before sort of weight shifting, and with the Formula Vs, a lot of the center of weight is from the monocoque and from that center of gravity in the middle where the driver usually is. What's the big takeaway if we're going to be sort of theoretical here? What would be the main takeaway for these guys if they're finding that the car sort of leans over ever so slightly to the left or to the right as they're cornering, and the car sort of drifts out?
A lot of it's going to be feeling the control. With the new types of direct drive wheels that are coming out, there are a lot of times.
Sorry, hold that thought for a second. We just had Brian Short going wide coming out of 9 down towards 10 and 11, and he had to, I think, really take some evasive maneuvers there. He kept it in though, but that was a bit of a scary move and a bit of a scary thought for him, and he's down into 9th, now being chased by Jared Colo, who was looking for some redemption on his mistake when he went into 4 and almost lost the car completely.
Yep. So going back to what we were talking about, the new direct drive wheels, they really do add a little bit more of a touch, a little bit more of a feel to the driver. So people who are used to driving a real car and don't quite get the feel that you hear people talk about when they compare racing in real life to the real life racing we get here in the sim, I think that is starting to help bridge the gap. So I know when I moved to a direct drive wheel that I found that I had a lot easier time controlling the car when it would start to go into a slide. I could feel a little more lightness in it as it started to go around, and I could begin my maneuver to catch that just a little bit quicker.
And here's hoping Myra Horaski has a direct drive wheel. He's chasing down Thomas Rinders. Gap is 0.25 of a second. And
gets a little oil smoke coming out of there on his shift as he's going down. Let's see if he can make the... Oh, looks like he's going to hold off on this one. He's looking like, yep, he's going to hold off on this one. I might have gone for that pass, but I've been known to be, let's just say, aggressive.
You want the position. You want it now.
Well, but in the world, it's a short race. I'm used to racing for 2.5 hours to 24 hours, 40-minute race, 50-minute race. These are sprints for me, so I tend to be a little more aggressive in the shorter races, personally.
And that does actually bring up a good point, including the pit stop. Now, would you, let's say, for instance, in Rinders' case and in Myro's case, they won't be able to catch up to the top 2 necessarily on pace alone. You know, the average pace for them has been about 3 or 4 tenths of a lap slower. Not to say they're bad drivers, but it's just that Gaspers and Arabian have just been in a league of their own from start to finish of the series. But does Rinders and Horaski, do they sort of work together? Leapfrog each other lap after lap, or will they? Or is sitting pace and sitting in position, holding line behind the guy ahead of you? Does that help at all? Or?
I think you make an excellent point here, because when I look at it and I think about the race ahead of me, if I'm Rinders and I'm behind Horaski like we just saw there, where I was saying, oh yeah, I would make that pass, but I really want to go catch P1 and P2. So I want to be up there on Gaspers and Arabian, and I need the help of Horaski to get there. I'm going to be nice, and I'm probably, and this is one of the really nice things about iRacing, I'm probably communicating that to my, we'll just call him temporary teammate, that, hey, let's work together and go catch these guys, because they're going hammer and tongs up there. They're battling it out, trying to get a lead and pull a gap. So let's work together and see if we can go get them.
7 seconds of a gap to get. I'm not sure if they'll get it. The slipstream is good, but will it be half a second a lap good? As we
Yeah, I
do
don't think
see
it'll
there's-
get you 7 seconds. That'd be nice if it would, but I don't see that happening.
And poor Rodriguez, he got up. He was up a few positions, and now he's back down into 13th. Mikhail Vichunik is up into 12th, and we just see what happened. Just trying to make moves, and really, it's just not gone well for him again.
Oh,
Another
just a little
driver caught
wiggle
out.
there.
Yeah.
That is a challenging corner coming around there, coming up to the bridge. I find when I'm driving through there that it just doesn't always have the grip that it had last time I went through there, which is a real life situation. I mean, that's something you find in real racing too. You come up to a corner and suddenly there's a little less rubber or a little more rubber. So I get what happened to him. I feel for him.
It's the ebb and flow of the track condition as well, more than anything else, I'd imagine. And that is going to be Jared Colo gone off at turn 2. He was having a few issues of his own, and as the replay will show, he's actually stopped. He's actually towed the vehicle, and that is the BWT, and that is why, unfortunately, he's actually having technical issues of his own, and when he appears back, he actually collides with another vehicle, and that is going to be unfortunate. I think he's actually going to need his spare car, because all cars have one faster pair, so they can hop into a spare car if needed, but I think his race is over.
It's kind of the iRacing equivalent to a cut tire. When you've got a slow leak, or even just a tire went out. They don't do that in iRacing, but what does happen, you have an internet connection problem. The kids were watching a YouTube video that took all your throughput available, or things like that just happen, and it can mess up your day if you're racing.
Rinders back down the pecking order. He's now down in 5th. We just missed it, but he did have a massive mistake, and Myra Haraski was able to get by, and you can just see he's on his own there, actually, racing well. And I think it was down into 2 where he made the mistake, and he just comes to the braking zone, and there's the grass ready to greet him, and he just...
Oh, boy. Yeah, these cars do not play well in the grass. You can get a little bit of the dirt from time to time, but as we know, the grass and even real life is not your friend when you're trying to get traction.
No, and I would have thought with the Race Anywhere tires that are designed for the tarmac, would be very, very cautious going on the grass. And that is, sorry, we just have another incident. Johan Batenga has gone round again. Not the kind of day for a lot of people out there, and he's all the way back down into 212th. It's poor. Yeah, a lot of people are getting caught out by these corners. It's either the grass or it's just the angles. I think people are just getting a bit... Oh, I think it might have been the grass. If we come up to 9. Yes, it was.
Oh, there he goes. Yeah, just caught a little bit of the grass at the end of the curbing there. Now, another thing that could be going on is we're looking at a little bit warmer track temperature. I think we're up to the high 90s in the Fahrenheit scale. So that'll be about, 97. There we go. Getting that higher track temperature. The tires aren't going to get quite the grip. You're going to get the temperature in the tire coming up a little bit quicker and a little bit higher. And you're just not getting that traction you want. And even though you could go through there at 48.6 miles per hour or 54.9, whatever it was last time, now you've got that extra temperature and it's just not going to work for you.
In the tires, you have an operating window. It's not just F1 tires that have that, but quite a lot of tires do. In fact, all tires do. But it's just whatever the tire is designed to operate in, what makes a difference. Now, we do have this.
Oh, this is a good pass looking here. Can he make it? Yep, and he lets him go through. He's playing the long run here. He's thinking ahead. It's like, okay, we've got this stuff happening behind us. Let's make hay while the sun shines, as they like to say.
These are rivals, though, for the championship. You know, would you, let's say, for instance, in this case, where Gasper is chasing Arabian in the points, would he just sit and play ball up until now we have seen it before, he'll sit and play ball until the very last moment and then make his move? Around here with the extra temperatures, wouldn't you like to cruise? Because Gaspers himself has said he doesn't like cruising. He wants to be ahead at most points, or if not all, the race.
Well, it is kind of a how do I feel today sometimes. There are times, I know I said I would have taken that pass before, but when I get into a position like this, especially when we're looking at the long game, how am I going to finish out the season? Am I okay with second place points? In this case, not so much, but I would probably want to sit back, especially considering they're still pulling away. There's about a 10-second gap to Hraski. So these guys are just moving on, and I think they're trying to work together in case there is a spin, in case something goes wrong, catch a little bit of grass, don't quite hit that apex right. You want to have that extra time to be able to have a comfort zone. So sure, there's some racing going on, and I think when it comes time to make that pass, right now, it looks to me like Gasper's is going to try to set up a pass for the straightaway. Oh, we have Brian Short coming in for, looks like his first pit stop.
And indeed, he comes in, made a good entry, but needs to keep focused. He is the first pit stop. That is just for fuel, and it's not for damage or for towing reasons. Now, his key will be, he'll be the ballpark that will rate everybody else against, and he's going to be in there for, oh, he's in there for quite a long time. Did he not? Oh, did he have damage? Ooh,
must have had damage
seconds
there. That is either a lot of fuel, and it could be that he just he put in a full 5 gallons of fuel instead of what he needed to finish the race.
That could be it. It'll be interesting to see what people will fuel. Now, the ballpark has been about 9-10 seconds. As we see again, David Gasper's
coming around. Yep, looks like, and they're playing ball. They're working with each other. I saw no attempt to try to hamper his progress coming through there. Looks like they are actually trying to work together to push ahead. I think in the last 3 laps, it's going to be a little less friendly. I think we're going to see a lot more aggression. But at this point, I think they're pretty happy to work together.
Yeah, but I mean, Gasper's is always the kind of person to lead by the front as Mikhail Vachunik comes into the pits. Now, this, I think, will be the one to see for just for fuel and see if he takes it in. Do notice, by the way, the rake of that car is actually quite high.
That is quite high. That's going to allow that rear end to come around very quickly. I wonder if he's also done some brake bias adjustment to get the car to handle a little differently. That's interesting. Most of the time when I'm watching these cars or even racing these, it's just in the default setup, which isn't anywhere near that type of rake.
Yeah, it's actually quite flat, but that is it's almost like Red Bull level of rake, where the car you could see the car being pointed down towards the track almost. And he comes out and he did a 17.5 second pit stop. I'm now fearing that
20 wasn't that far off. It could have been there was a little bit of damage that needed to be repaired there too.
That's very true, but I'm also thinking to myself, I wonder if it'll spell sort of a sticky situation for these guys, because they'll have to come in much earlier than we're expecting, and who will come in first, because the pit stop may be long. Like, look how long of a berth that between when the pit stop limiter is activated and when you actually come in to your stall. It's about cone to cone 50 seconds. I wonder now.
It's quite a long pit stop, partially because it's a very narrow pit. They want to limit the speed, and there we got a 10.5 second stop. This may be the new marker for us to start looking at for a regular pit stop. That 10-second stop, I'm saying, is fuel only. I don't think there was any type of damage repair on that one at all.
And did I just say Gasper hit something?
I just heard something go
He's
bang.
going in backwards.
Oh, he's backwards. He's backwards down the pit lane.
He hit something. I thought my detective eye saw something. I think he lost it going into the pits or hit something. He's having to reverse into his pit box. This has all gone wrong for Gaspers. It is not what he wanted. Now we're just seeing the replay. Look how sharp he has to come in. Oh, and he hit the wall.
If he could get extra points for that, I would absolutely award them, because that was some stunning driving right there.
He turned it around in the pit box, but he had to take a fast repair. As any eagle-eyed viewer would see, that front right tire was actually broken. The steering link was broken on that front right. It was actually pointed to the right. He had hit the wall quite hard, and he's in the spare car now. By the way, as a reminder, they all do have one spare car, one fast repair, so they'll get another crack at the whip if they can get the car around. But that spells great news for Forens. He's on his own, and as long as he can get a good pit stop, he's fine. But does he come into the pits this time? He
doesn't look like he's going to. He's feigning left. I think he's going to stay down. He's trying to capitalize a little bit on Vichunik's pace right here, because he can fit right inside that draft and hopefully open up a little bit. I don't think he's aware of the stunt driving we saw out of his rival.
I'd say poor Gaspers will be kicking and screaming that happened, because it's so unfortunate. He only had a 10-second stop, so he was stopping just for fuel, but then he had to get that fast repair because his steering link was broken. And I would say if anything else, keeps it as it is, if the race continues as it is, Forens will be in cahoots with himself. He'd be absolutely happy that happened. From a standpoint of, he won't be happy that his rival had an accident. He'll be happy to have a nice gap for points, and it'll look up for him. Another pit stop from Kenneth Batley. He comes out. He did a 11.9 second pit stop, 43 seconds cone to cone. Johan Batenga in the pits, 12 seconds for him, and we are seeing only a very few select drivers. Now, before, they would stop with about 10 to 5 minutes to go-ish. But here they're stopping much earlier.
Well, there could be two reasons. It could be there's a lot of foot on the floor time here. You spend a lot of time just matting it all the way around this track, except for in this tight little section we're watching right here, the turn 1, 2, 3, 4, and then over the Yokohama Bridge. But the rest of the track is largely flat out, so that could be eating up some fuel. The other thing is, the sooner you stop, the longer you keep the car in that balance. So with these open setups here, they're looking at maintaining a constant balance of the car as long as they can. So when they do get to that low fuel point and the car starts to feel a little bit different, they've probably set this up to make the majority of the race feel good. So when you go and you get that fuel again, or your one fuel stop, and you add the fuel back, the car hasn't changed a whole lot.
Just as we see Carton Nunez in the pits, I want to ask you as well, is it quite, these are not endurance tank cars. They're not going to have over 100 liters in difference from empty to full, but would it even make a difference if it was like a 2-gallon stop?
So the interesting thing I noticed, and it was kind of backwards of what you would think. When this car first came out, I was really excited to go drive it, and I hopped in it, and I went out and I did a hot lap and posted to one of the leagues that I race in, and said, "Hey, here's a time, here's a B lap for you guys to go chase. Enjoy, see what you can get." And somebody said, "Oh, well, you did that on low fuel, or on low fuel. We're running a longer race. We're running a 40-minute race, so we use 4.9 gallons or 4.8, whatever it was, gallons of fuel." And I said, "Well, okay." So I put more fuel in it, went out and drove with the default setup, and was actually 0.5 faster. So I think there is something to be gained by maintaining the right amount of fuel. It was just, maybe it was an oddity, but I found that to be the case over and over again. Every track I've gone to is when I have a solid amount of fuel in there. Oh, that was a little wiggly there.
A little mistake can cost a whole lot, and that is going to be disastrous as another car is coming up behind him. And just as we see, Florence Arabian, nice and neat, he went in there. He obviously didn't want any too big of a risk, as we see another car coming in behind. That's going to be Myro Haraski coming into the pits as well.
He could have shown off and gone backwards like Gasper's did, but
wouldn't have been as fast. I think it was in the heat of the moment. As we can see, Gasper's is actually coming onto the final turn, and off he goes, and Myro is still in the pits, but all the pit boxes are at the end, and Arabian is out, and he will be rejoining,
This is going to be close.
Ooh, it's actually closer than I thought it would be.
Looks like going
that's very
backwards was
close.
smart. Oh, wow, look at the speed. Wow, he's coming through that dog leg quickly. And you know what? He's right there, but let's watch for this lap traffic. This could be kind of a game changer. Oh, gets out of the way, lets the two leaders come by.
The pit comparison shows that Arabian spent 1.2 seconds extra in the stop, but critically spent only 42 seconds cone to cone, yet this is the gap. What?
Wow. So earlier I was watching as Arabian was using the draft of that lap car that was in front of him, was doing a brilliant job. And I think we may have missed Gasper's doing the same thing. He played it smart, got out there, and look as he comes up here. This is going to get exciting. Look at this. I think we're going to see a pass going into the dog leg at turn 1.
So a broken suspension has not stopped David Gaspers, who is, I think, fueled by determination at this point to try and get ahead and stay there. As he comes into turn 1, he'll have the position on the inside. Bards Arabian, letting him by, not wanting to fight all the way to 2.
Yeah, 9.5 minutes left. We've got plenty of racing to go. With 1.25 minutes per lap, 1:20 per lap, there's plenty of time to set up things right now. And if I were Arabian, this is actually the position I would want to be in here. Because like I was talking about before, the third P, the pestering, this is where you can do that, and you can start to force Gaspers into a mistake. Now, from watching Gaspers, except for the stunt driving incident we saw, mistakes aren't really in his bailiwick. I think we may have seen one or two little things here and there, but honestly, he's just cruising along. And as I say that, he drives into the grass, but maintains it. That was good.
Yeah, I do think though that Gaspers he'll have known that mistake that he made into the pits could have cost him a lot more. So I think he's thankful that it didn't, but also B, knowing that Farns Arabian has the ace up his sleeve, he can still go racing even if he picks up damage. Gaspers is on the second car. He has to be very careful, and as you can see, the slipstreaming is taking the play as Farns is sticking behind. You did bring up a good point, by the way, Mike, is that he's holding position behind Gaspers. He's done this before numerous times. The question is, when does he make the move? On the last lap or through the last lap?
And the thing he's hoping is Gaspers is asking that same question. That's the key here. You have to keep him guessing about when you're going to try to... Oh, no! Oh, getting a little sideways going through. And now we're side by side as we come up over the Yokohama Bridge. Pulls it in. There we go. Take advantage of that little indiscretion, getting a little bit too quick in the corner. Next thing you know, your opponent gets by you. Here we watch the replay.
And we just see the mistake that was made. Nice, neat through into 3. Then on into 4, holding it steady. Trying to make sure that it all goes well. Well, all goes well. But unfortunately, the car decides to give out.
Those quick hands saved him, though. The quick hands. You could see his hands going a little crazy in there, but they did exactly the right thing. Now we're coming back down to the front straight. Let's see if he's going to try to make this pass. Oh, we've got a little bit of a defense happening here. Looks like Arabian's trying to hold that inside line and push Gaspers to the outside, maybe out into the grass. Nope. Can Gaspers come around?
Gaspers holding side by side.
Oh, this is some good racing. Side by side, this is one of my favorite things to do. When I'm racing with someone I trust, I could do an entire lap side by side and just giggle my butt off the whole time because it's so much fun doing that.
Now, Gaspers has opened the door to the possibility of an outside overtake being made. It doesn't have to be on the inside. It can be on the outside as well, as long as you have enough speed. But Farns will now have the playbook back in his hands. He'll be able to determine the pace. He'll be able to determine also... Oh, crikey. Gaspers.
That's 2 in a row. See, this is the third P that I was talking about. You've got the pestering going on. forcing him just off into that grass a little bit. Now, that is a tricky turn. Setting up for that turn is tough. And if you just keep it matted all the way through there, it can toss you out into the grass. I was finding that I was needing to do about a 10% lift, and then I could go right back into it. But I was not racing with an open setup. Now we've got to make him the pass, looking to the left side, coming down towards the dog leg. We've got an overlap, always halfway through, coming up side by side. Is he going to hold it through here? Looks like he's going to give it to him. Oh, Gaspers comes back around. Oh, come on, guys. This is some good racing. Thank you for putting on such a wonderful show here. I love this. I absolutely love this.
Gasper's on the outside, securing back P1. P2 will go to Foreign Arabian. By the way, for those interested in the other classes, we do have Thomas Rinders once again leading the way for the S2s and the Masters.
We got an off again.
Oh, but we just see Gasper's again not having a good day. Oh, he's on the grass.
Oh, but he's got a nice run back on him. He's got a really nice run back on him. I think he's going to try to hold back just a little bit as we come down here. Make this run. Fit up underneath his... I was going to say underneath his wing. Not too many wings on a Formula V these days, or ever, really. But as he comes down here, look as he comes through that corner, gets a nice run out of there, right up to the edge of the wall. Is he going to try to make this pass? It looks like we got a little bit of a defense down to the left side. Gaspers is going to stay outside to the wall. Looks like we've got an overlap. Come on, let's see what we can do here, guys. More exciting racing coming your way in the top class. Oh, he just misses the grass. Does he hold on to first? Makes the pass around the outside.
Well done to Gaspers. He's now holding the defense, and he's holding him quite well into 1-2, and then sort of securing it in 3. But that in track, he needs to figure out what's going wrong there quickly. He only has 3.5 minutes roughly
it's
there to speak.
Right here, yeah, when they come around to the Yokohama Bridge, the turn before Yokohama, which is 4, I think. Yeah, when they come up there, he's just missing his timing. His timing's off a little bit, and that could be that the track's heating up. It could just be the pressure that Arabian is putting on behind him.
Just by the way, we forgot to mention the Masters. Lead of Masters goes to Kenneth Bantley. He leads by over 9 seconds to the next person, Thomas Gradwell. He's doing pretty well for himself. Nice and peachy. Just sitting underneath the Yokohama Bridge, passing it now. Where we get back to these guys coming around turn 12, going in towards lap 29.
I think
3 minutes on the clock.
Polish their wheels there when they come around. They're trying to get a nice polish off that wall on those right side wheels.
And just again on the inside goes Foreign Arabian, but Gaspers has the outside.
Gaspers has kept this outside working for him before. He's got a little bit of a compromise. Arabian has a little bit of a compromise on the inside of that corner. Gaspers is able to take that extra momentum he has by taking that wide corner and being in the right position right here for turn 3.
Now,
we got over under though.
Foreign Arabian has already shown that stuff can be done. And correction, David Gasper showed stuff could be done, and now Foreign Arabian has fought back and said, "Oh, this is now the future. We can overtake in 4, and this is going to be critical." It is 2 minutes remaining.
I have tricks in my bag too.
Exactly, and this is what these battles have been about between these two. When anything you can do, I can do better. You know that song and how it goes.
That song, yeah, that's one of my favorites.
This is exactly what they play out every week. Everything you can do, I can do better. I can overtake on this point. Oh well, I can overtake here, but it is going to be absolutely. The last 2 laps are going to be absolutely critical for Gaspers. He needs to be primed and ready to make the move, and he does. That's on the inside.
Run there too. He's got quite a run running up through here. Now he's on the inside. This is an unfamiliar position if we've watched the past few laps. Can he hold on to it? He's pushing to the outside a little bit. Gets a little bit wiggly as he goes into turn 2. Nice exit. Now, are we going to see more tricks? I think Arabian was probably trying to let him know, hey, I got some tricks here too. Wait till you see what else I'm going to bring your way.
I think, as well as which, he didn't actually follow what Gaspers did. Gaspers, around the outside, he's able to hold it, but Arabian kind of just let him by. which is good for him because then he controls the playbook, and he's sitting in position that we think will be the best for him, which would be to attack when he wants to, whenever he wants to, and with the white flag coming up now, as Barney gets it prepared. Come on, Barney. He's got it prepared somewhere. White flag this time by as they come around turn 12, and this is going to be the final lap. Lap 30 is about to close.
This is going to be where he's going to want to make this pass. If he can get around him here and hold it, that's going to be the trick. I don't think there's enough draft to come out of the final corner and make it ahead of the car in front of you. So here he comes up the inside. Oh, looking a little wiggly. And we've seen that this is just a replay of, oh no, look. Do we have an opportunity for over-under here? He's going to tuck in behind him. What's going to happen when we come around to Yokohama now? I think our next big opportunity to flip-flop here is going to be coming to the Yokohama Bridge. How are they going to set this up? What does Gasper's have up his sleeve now?
Gasper's is a bit too far back to make anything done, though. Has he squandered the chance? He had held it around the outside into one, but lost it just about, and Barnes was able to take the lead quite comfortably. Does he try and make the move into 9? Going into 9 now, nothing going into 10, going very wide. No.
This is the only time I would try to make the pass going into this corner right here, into the final corner. If he can get up close enough, can he get there? Oh, this is going to be a tight.
No, he doesn't. He doesn't. It's all gone wrong for Gasper's. He's not won. He's let Barnes Arabian take the victory. On that last lap, he didn't have it secured, and he didn't have anywhere else to push it. Unfortunately for him, it's all gone wrong. We see the other drivers coming across the line, but we do have Kenneth Batley for the Masters putting in an absolute incredible performance, and he is joined by Thomas Rinders, the lead for S2. And unfortunately, while that is the top 3, we do have to take a short break. Don't go away. We'll be back with post-race analysis and interviews, so stick around. And a electrifying race has an electrifying result. It is not Gasper's race to win. Barnes Arabian comes in first in the number 6, followed by David Gaspers and Myra Haraski in third. Thomas Rinders in 4th, but with a cool win for amateur. In 5th is Kenneth Batley for the Masters win. Jesus Rodriguez in 6th. After a quiet race from him, he goes all the way up into 6th. Very well done. In 7th is Tom Gradwell. 8th, Brian Short. 9th, Kurt Nunez. And in 10th is Johan Batenga. And then as we scroll down through the list, we have Mikhail Vachunik in 11th, Joe Marrington 12th, Christopher Fassetti in 13th, 14th was Coppage, 15th. Unfortunately, Ian Gibson was not able to make his trick happen here, and he fell back a few laps. Jared Colo and Mark Gehan were the only 2 retirees for this race, and they were 20 laps and 29 laps down, respectively. Up first, we have Forens Arabian, the race winner today at Oran Park. Forens, a masterclass of holding it all together until the final lap. Talk us through it, man.
The more I drive this car, the more I'm participating in the season. It felt that it's more strategy than actual racing. I had to prevent us from losing time in the first half of the race. But once the pit stops happened and we knew we were 15 seconds ahead, I knew that the only goal was to be in front of him by the last lap.
And we did see a very good move coming into 3 and then into 4. You sort of undercut him as he was trying to go out wide for turn 4. Did you have any other tricks up your sleeve that you wanted to use but probably couldn't, or did you save that the crescendo moment for last?
Really, during the practice we generally race each other, so it's always clear what the other person is going to do. David is really quick, and the only thing I could do is force him into an error. Turn 2 or turn 1, that's where he shifted into second and gave me the speed or difference that I needed to win.
And while it is going to be, a bit difficult to say now, what are you hoping for out of this? Will there be a season 2 of the Weekend Warriors for Formula V?
What I'm hoping is maybe for season 2 we don't have pit stops. I feel like the pit stops forces us to play nice in the first section of the race. Anybody undercutting while the leaders are fighting it out will gain pole position pretty easily.
So you'd like more action, essentially.
Yeah, I want to leave us race and maybe not concentrate as much on the strategy. But then again, it's fun on its own where, you have to plan your pit stops. You have to plan, if your fuel savings, if you want to put the right amount of fuel and when to pit. But I prefer the racing part.
Sure thing. Before we let you go, by the way, do you have any shout outs or any thanks you'd like to give?
As always, Carol, thank you for supporting me. I love you, and I wouldn't win the season without you, technically. So, and to you guys thanks for having me on, and Weekend Warriors, Stevie and Greg for hosting it.
Ah, yeah, sure. Glad to have you around. Now, Forens Arabian, thank you so much for joining us, and great racing out there. Hopefully we'll see you back if Weekend Warriors comes back with season 2. And if we don't see it until then, have a great, awesome rest, and hopefully we see you.
Thanks, Robert.
Up next is going to be David Gaspers, and Michael has been catching up with him.
So, David, congratulations on a beautifully done second place finish. Probably not where you were hoping. I could see the fire in the eyes right through the virtual helmet. Talk us through those last couple of laps and what you were thinking. How did you think you were going to be able to take the win over Arabian? What was the plan to get there?
To be honest, I didn't really think about anything. I just wanted to race a bit because I hate strategy races, so it's really boring before a pit stop. And yeah, I just messed up the last lap. For whatever reason, I decided to shift into second in the first corner, and that almost spun me around.
Well, speaking of boring pit stops, I got to say there was a bit of excitement in the pit stop
Yeah.
as you came through. What was going on there?
Maybe I should have practiced the pit entrance a bit more.
Well, it looked like you practiced it perfectly because you spun the car around 180. I felt like I was watching a drift show or a stunt car show as you came through there and just rolled all the way down the pits backwards. That was beautifully done.
Yeah, the beginning part of the pits is a bit too narrow to turn around, but luckily the reverse gear is long enough so that I could still go the pit speed limit.
Yeah, it was fortunate, but it was definitely entertaining to watch. So, was there one spot in the race where you felt like, if I could get this one thing to happen, I could get right back up there? Because you did, even after that reverse pit entry, you came back and were right on the tail, and even had led for a little while against your opponent. So, how did that work out in your head?
I think I was around 3 or 4 times faster than Ferns when we didn't have draft. But my expectation was that I'm around 5 seconds behind him after the pit stop. I have no idea why I was that close.
Yeah, you and everyone else, because we were watching closely. We've got timing screens and computers for days to tell us what's going on. And when you were coming down the straightaway there and Florence was coming out, it was, I think we were all kind of caught by surprise, but happily, because you put on a beautiful race. And I really want to give you congratulations on doing such a fantastic job watching you guys going through the dog leg, through turn one side by side, through turn two, through just about every turn side by side. It was a joy to watch you guys, and I got to say, I appreciate watching really good racing like you did.
Thank you.
So, anybody you'd like to thank in particular?
Yeah, as always, everyone that works in hosting the series, also the broadcast, because I think without broadcasting it, there would be less drivers running.
Well, thanks for being here, David. That was a fantastic race. We're going to toss this back to Robert, who I believe is going to have Thomas Rinders.
Thomas, how are we, my boy? And you've come home in fourth and winner for the amateurs. How are you?
Yeah, I'm actually pretty good. As you said, I've got the championship, and I think I've even got P3 in the overall championship too. So championship-wise, it's I'm very happy with that. Yeah, but today I just wished I didn't make the mistake I did. So we could have a proper battle for P3 with Miro. But
well, talk us
Yes,
through
Brett.
that. Actually, yeah, let's talk us through that. What happened there? Was it just a a little oopsie daisy, or was it
Yeah, it was
talk us through it from your view.
definitely it was definitely just a little oopsie daisy. I had, I think, one lap of a little less concentration than I should, and yeah, because of that, I just forgot my braking marker. So yeah, I got a little wide there and got off track just a little bit, and yeah, the rear broke out because of that. Yeah, sorry.
But I was, it's at the very least that it wasn't too bad. At the very end, it was just a case of trying to get back to it again. But it still was, between yourself and Myro. Take us through that section in particular, because you were kind of, at one point we were kind of guessing, would you try and leapfrog each other to try and get back up to Gasper's and Arabian territory? Was it just too much of a gap between them to make that, or were you trying that?
We weren't really trying. I just thought, on first hand, I had a bit more pace than Miro, but yeah, it appears that it was the other way around. Also, that that became clear later on in the race. But yeah, I think Forens and David, they were just half a second per lap faster, so I didn't think we stood a chance against them today. Maybe if we could get in the slipstream right in the first couple of laps and don't do stupid things, but yeah, we lost the slipstream sadly, but still was a good race. I had fun.
And will you be back? Just one quick note. Will you be back if they did Formula V Weekend Warriors Season 2?
I sure would. I think I'm going to be promoted, so I will be driving the Pro Class if there will be a second season.
Oh, indeed. We look forward to seeing you there. But before we let you go, any shout-outs or any thanks you'd like to give in particular?
Yeah, I want to thank Carlin. She's my girlfriend because she has been supporting me the whole season and letting me drive every Saturday night. So that's a big thing to do, in my opinion. I also want to give a shout out to the organizers, to you guys. And I have one important thing to say, maybe. I know that there isn't a sponsor for next season yet, so I hope that maybe once someone wants to step in for next season so that it can be broadcasted by you guys, because I really enjoyed that.
We thank you as well for racing with us and for giving us plenty of good moments and for good racing as well, Thomas Rinders. Thank you very much. We hope to see you again if there is a season 2.
Yes.
And finally, we have Tom Gradwell closing out today, and with Michael, he will discuss how his race went.
Well, Tom, it seems like you had kind of a lonely race out there for a lot of it. How did the race progress for you? Tom, are you there? So,
Hello.
Tom, there we go. So, Tom, why don't you tell us how that race worked? It seemed like you had a bit of a lonely race, even though you won, and there's just as much work that goes into it. What were some of the points going through the race that were kind of a highlight that let you know that, hey, I'm going to win this thing?
Well, I knew I just had to stay safe to win it, and I was by the end of the race. To be honest, I was down on penalty points because I'd had a 4x with a netcode early in the race, that and plus a few more off tracks with some of those dog legs and things, and yeah, I was struggling not to get a drive through, so I was just being very cautious, let a few people pass me down the front straight, and just trying to finish safe.
So I'm not so keen on identifying the different Aussie accents. When I was there for a while, I could have done it. So I don't know if you're from or near around Sydney. Was this a track that you had ever driven in real life?
No, never been there. It's long since gone, but no, I never got there.
Yeah, it's a housing development now. I hear the houses here are gorgeous. But you know, I kind of feel like the track should still be there personally. So what you were talking about, you were trying to make sure you didn't get these 4Xs, net codes, things like that. How many points did you have ultimately at the end? How many penalty points were you riding up against?
I was riding on 10, so yeah, one more car contact with somebody else, and I could have been in for a drive-through.
Ooh, well, fortunately you didn't get it and you came out with the win. And if I'm not mistaken, that gives you the championship for your class. Is that right?
Yeah, I didn't win the class today. Kenneth won the class today. He was 2 places ahead of me, but I was just circulating to make sure that I stayed in the points.
Well, second place is what you needed to do to hold on to it, and you definitely did it. So beautiful drive out there. Is there anybody you want to shout out to, give thanks to?
Oh, I think I've got to thank Steve Ray for creating the Masters class. It's the only chance I've got of winning anything. And you guys for doing the broadcast. It's always good. And everyone for turning up, because that's the whole point of these leagues, is the more the merrier.
Absolutely. And yeah, again, beautiful drive. Congratulations on the championship. Let's toss to Robert to take us out.
Thank you very much, Tom, for participating with us. And thank you guys for joining us with every single race for the Formula V Weekend Warriors. But we also would like to thank Ring Free with a unified VoIP for your essential business. Find out more at ringfree.com. Choose connection. Again, as I said, thank you very much to the Formula V Weekend Warriors crew, admins, and anyone who provides our software and hardware for the broadcasts listed here on your screen. Additional thanks go to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. Check out her Bandcamp for more of her great work if you'd like to pick up some yourself. Thanks to the team today, Michael Johnson, Joe Peak, and Dougie in the background. You can find out more information about GSRC at globalsimracingchannel.com or through the social medias listed on the screen. Please check out the merch store. Pick yourself up some swag. How about that? We'll keep a link in the video description, and don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss a moment here on GSRC. Unfortunately, we don't have any further Formula Weekend Warrior races. Formula V. There we go. But we do have other races on your screens as they're scrolling through now. Mark them down on your calendar. But until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.